What is in between you and becoming a high-stakes poker player? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain the top 5 reasons that people don't succeed in the poker industry. Now, I'm going to go from order of 5th most important to most important, work up to the top one. So here we go. Number 5, bankroll management. Bankroll management is so boring to a lot of people. It's like, oh, yawn. Should I be having 32.5 buy-ins before I take a shot at this? And I get it, guys. Sometimes you just want to punt. And sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good to invest a large amount of your money into a single tournament, but only if you're doing it in a smart way. I've seen so many people go from robusto to busto, from millions to zero, including myself. I've actually gone busto twice in my poker career, and that was first after making a couple of $100, second after making $700,000. Luckily for me, it all turned out fine, but for a lot of people out there, it really hasn't. So how can you avoid it? Well, the strategy I use for cash games, 6-max cash games, which is how I recommend a lot of new players start out, is 20 buy-ins to take a shot at the next stake. And then if you lose, you go down at 17. Now, this is very aggressive bankroll management strategy. You can definitely use 30 or 40 or whatever you want. But for me personally, I always wanted to be getting up to the next stake and the next stake and the next stake to prove myself that I can keep getting up. And sometimes that meant taking shots where I wasn't beating a specific stake, but it still meant that I put my feet in those waters and I got to try myself out. And then I got my ass kicked and I had to go back and work out why I got my ass kicked. Now, in tournaments, it's different. Some people say 50, some people say 100 buy-ins. You have to come up with your own strategy. And the best piece of advice I can give to you is write down that strategy and goddamn stick to it. Really stick to it. And that doesn't mean you can't take the odd shot now and then, but really, if you're gonna take a shot, think it through. Is it a really soft tournament? Are you investing more than, say, 10% of your bankroll? If you are, probably no bueno. And really think, am I in a good spot here if I lose? Like, what's my life gonna be like if I lose this tournament or 5 tournaments like this, which is extraordinarily possible? So, good bankroll management strategy and stick to it. The discipline to sticking to it is really the cherry on top. It's the last piece of the puzzle. Right, number 4, lack of ambition / self-belief. Lack of ambition and lack of self-belief. It's a huge thing. It's a huge thing that I think a lot of people aren't even aware that they don't have. A lot of people say, yeah, I've got what it takes. But then when it comes to playing, I hear their thought process and they're thinking scared. They're thinking, well, I didn't want this guy to outplay me. I didn't want to make this play because I just thought he might be in my head. And it's that kind of mentality that if you bring it to the table, god damn it, you're doomed. You're doomed to fail. And a lot of people, when playing, say, new players or when playing poker for the first time, they're always overestimating and almost deifying their opponents and saying, well, how could I possibly beat these guys? They can beat 5-0. And then they'll get up and they'll be like, how could I possibly beat these guys? They beat 10-0, etc. ad infinitum until you get to the top, at least. And I've seen it destroy people's games. And more than that, I've seen it destroy people's motivation. Off table, there are so many players that just don't really believe that they have what it takes to be a high-stakes professional poker player. Now, I've had to coach people with mindset and I've had to coach people with poker, and I've seen this infiltrate both elements of it. So really be clear with yourself. Do I believe in myself? And if I don't, does that mean that I don't think I have what it takes? Or does it mean that perhaps I have some childhood trauma that's coming up? Do I have something that needs addressing psychologically? And goddamn, address that motherfucker, whether it's with a therapist or with meditation or with trauma release techniques. Just address it, and then you can be the best version of yourself going to the poker tables. Number 3, thought processes. Or to sound less pretentious, thought processes. A bad thought process can make or break a poker player, and they can proliferate. Is that a word? A bad thought process can make or break a poker player, and that can last throughout a whole career without people even knowing it. Now, I've coached dozens and dozens and dozens of new poker players and older poker players, people that have been around, and high stakes poker players, and something that I found throughout everybody is that so many people's thought processes are just jumbled, and this is a result of a few things. First thing it's a result of is bad coaching, or coaching that just doesn't resonate with the person. I've had so many people come to me and be like, so in this spot I think I'm meant to be checking back because it's a spot where I unblock his draws and I don't want to be check raised by that and his value hands, and it's a board I've got range advantage on. It's like, whoa, what happened? you remember on day one of learning poker, you learned c-betting? Yeah, like, well, how much of his range do you think hits that board? He's like, oh, I don't know, maybe like a third. He's a recreational player. He's not check raising this spot very often. Why don't you c-bet? Like, oh yeah, I should probably just c-bet, shouldn't I? And then they'll be bluffing. They'll be like, well, I've got this blocker and I've got this kind of range advantage. I'm polarized in this spot and I want to range merge because I learned that from a different bit. It's like, whoa. How much do you think he'll fold for half pot? Oh, maybe like this much of his range. How much do you think he'll fold for a pot? Well, maybe like this much of his range. How much do you think he'll fold to a shove? Maybe like this much of his range. Which ones do you think better? Maybe a pot size bet? Yeah, I agree. Maybe, who knows? But at least you're now thinking about it clearly. And that's what I like to teach. That's what I taught in my masterclass. Get good range analysis. Before you learn all of these unblocking, blocking, flush draw, whatever the fuck people talk about these days with GTO, get good range analysis and find a coach that resonates with you. Perhaps it won't be me. Perhaps it will be me. Perhaps it's going to be a GTO person for some reason. Whatever it is, stick with one style of poker, learn it, and find a teacher that's goddamn good at teaching, because you'll get a lot of people that teach, they're good at poker, but they ain't no good at teaching because they don't understand the thought processes that go behind all of these mistakes that you're making. They'll just tell you the right answer, and that just ain't how you teach anything. You don't just tell people the right answer. So bad thought processes, you can just clean them up, streamline them. That's what I love to teach. Number 2, mindset. We've already touched on a bit of mindset, but it's such a wide topic that I really want to cover it as just a whole, as a monolith. So I've actually addressed this with a mindset masterclass, link in the description, because I saw so many people with so much potential to be incredible poker players, and they just fuck it. Because they're too egotistical, because they're too unconfident in themselves, because they're too aggressive at the table. And you speak to them and you understand, and I get to know them deeply. And it's like, oh, it's because you got bullied when you were a kid. So now when that guy 3-bets you 3 times in a row in live poker, you went ballistic. So let's address this. Oh, okay, you have terrible diet and that gives you brain fog every day. Oh, but let's address that. Let's address your mindset. How about we learn some meditation? Because guys, if you're not meditating and playing poker, you're burning money. Meditation can keep your thought process so clear, so concise. Good nutrition can keep your thought process so you're going to be in your A game all the time, and people ain't going to be on their A game back. So if you're the person that can be on the A game, be present, be mindful, be calm, be rational, and they're not, god damn it, you're in a good position. So, mindset, get it sorted. Everyone's mindset's unique. There's so many different combinations of different potential idiosyncratic idiocies and foibles that people can have. So try and learn yourself. This is something that's so beautiful about poker. It's spiritually embedded into the world. You can't go through a poker journey and be successful without looking at your own emotions, unless you're kind of emotionless, which some people are due to their own traumas or whatever. I actually used to be, but now I'm an emotional person and I have to face myself head on, be like, why are you upset right now? Why are you nervous right now? Why are you anxious? What are we gonna do about that? And that's so beautiful that we just get to tap into that energy of forcing ourselves within this pressure cooker environment to stare at ourselves in the mirror and say, well, let's fucking go. Let's deal with this. So mindset is crucially important. Numero uno. And this one is going to be a tough pill to swallow. Talent and lack of talent. Unfortunately, some people's brains just aren't wired for poker. Now, I would like to say that mine is, and I can look at myself and be like, I'm good at decision making, I'm very mathematical, like I was gonna be a mathematician or some kind of theoretical physicist, maybe a banker if I didn't find poker, and that really translated well into rational thinking of poker. Now also, you need to be intuitive, you need to have good rational intuition as well. So you need those two things to be combining very nicely. You probably want to be good at psychology, perhaps not, depends on your style of poker. And a lot of people, they just don't have these things. It's really tough for people to admit that to themselves, being like, well, maybe I'm not actually that rational in comparison to other people. Maybe I'm not that good at decision making when it comes to quick decision making on the spot in comparison to other people. Maybe emotionally, I'm just not wired for these things, or maybe it would take 10 years for me to get to the point where I am. And that's where a lot of you probably need to have that conversation with yourself, being like, do I really have what it takes? You have to be hardworking for sure, but you gotta have that talent. And it's not in my best incentive financially to tell you this, at least not in the short run, because you'll find a lot of people trying to sell the dream of poker like it's something that anybody can do. And yeah, the dream of poker is so much alive still. Even to this day, there's so much money to be made for actually not that much work. but some people just don't have what it takes. So you have to have that honest conversation with yourself and say, who am I? What am I capable of? What am I truly doing with my time? Is it something that can turn into this wonderful experience where I can be a high stakes poker player and live financially secure and on my own hours for the rest of my life? Or is this just a pipe dream because this isn't something, I've tried it for 3, 4, 5 years and I still haven't got anywhere? Perhaps it's time for you to take a look at yourself and say, well, maybe it's time to quit. And I know the sunk cost fallacy is strong within a lot of people. They spend so much time investing in this game that they love and they don't go anywhere. But they're like, well, maybe if I just do one more course because I've already put 5 years into it, what's another year? It's a shame to see people lose their lives to the game. So to recap, bankroll management, number 5, lack of ambition or self-belief was number 4, thought processes or bad thought processes often coming from bad coaching was number 3, mindset as a generalization was number 2, and lack of talent is number 1. Now I hope this has been somewhat helpful for you guys to make some decisions when it comes to your own poker careers, whether you think you can make it, if there's anything you could do to adjust. Any time you could just look at yourself and be like, from now on, I'm gonna meditate every time before I play a session. From now on, I'm gonna try and eat healthier. From now on, I'm gonna have these conversations with myself every month saying, do I have what it takes to be a professional poker player? Am I motivated enough? Am I doing enough work? Am I thinking about it enough? Do I love the game enough? So I really hope this can kind of spark a few conversations with yourself and perhaps with your friends. And that's it from me, guys. Much love.